Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Montoya Smith, aka Black Socrates. Just wanted to hit y'all with this random rant, man. It's something I've been thinking about and discussing for years. Anybody that knows me knows how I feel about technology and how it disconnects us, if you will. And so it's this one thing, this one transition that happened due to the cell phone, due to text, and that I just wanted to share of how, while technology and social media, in a sense, lets us connect easier. Unfortunately, as humans, we're less connected. And I just wanted to talk about a couple dynamics I thought about when I was growing up. Before we had a cell phone, before we had even an answering machine, if you will, the certain family dynamics, me being from the rural South, if you will, the certain dynamic that we had, and again, we were more connected as people due to lack of technology and how this transition of technology again makes us feel more connected, but in reality we're less connected. So like right now, for example, currently for the most part, if a friend or even a family member for that matter were to show up at your door, knock on the door, and they didn't call in 2023, really for the last 15 years, maybe this has been a concept, maybe 20 years, where if they just showed up and they didn't call, that is considered disrespectful. That you didn't call, you showed up at my house without calling, that is considered disrespectful. Now, maybe longer than 20 years ago, but when I was young, it was super common, again, especially being in the rural South, but again, before answering machines, it was absolutely common that your friends may, our family may just show up and knock on your door. This was back when, you had to keep the house clean all the time, and especially the bathroom, because you never knew who might just show up at your door, because everybody didn't have phones back then, didn't have landlines, believe it or not. And so, yeah, somebody might show up your door, and if it's family or friends, not only are it's not just a casual conversation, you'll welcome them in, and they may want to use the bathroom. And so people kept they, I'm just throwing this out, people kept their house cleaner back then, because you never know who was going to show up at the door. And that was a good, and if it was family or friends, it was a good thing. In 20 or 20 in 20 and 23, it's considered disrespectful. Like, look at that full transition from the happiness that your friends or family showed up at your door unannounced to say, hey, I just wanted to come see you and visit and talk to you. And you typically set aside what you're doing to entertain them, possibly even feed them. And as a young kid, I remember it was nothing like my great uncle. He coming to see his sister, who he, my grandmother was like the second oldest of them or whatever. And so he looked at, so one of my uncles looked at her like his, damn it, like his mother. 'Cause they lost their mother when they were young. So my grandmother, from what I understand, this is what I was stories I was told, she kind of took over that role or whatever. So it was very common that my uncle Calvin, if you will, would just randomly show up to come see his sister, and that included him bringing his kids. So these are my cousins, if you will. And man, anytime I saw Uncle Kevin roll up to the crib unannounced, I was happy as all get out, because he better have my cousins with him, right? Because I'm getting ready now. Whatever I was doing, I'm finna now. The adults gonna do the adult thing, and I'm finna get to play with my kids. In 2023, your children can't experience that because it's now disrespectful to show up without calling. They can't experience the excitement and the connectivity of just pure excitement that your friends and family thought enough. Cause now this ain't the era when you call, make sure they there. It's my uncle possibly taking, and this has happened, take a 40, 45 minute trip, and maybe my grandma's gone. Maybe we ain't there. Like, like the effort that period of time took to be able to say, all right, I'm gonna go visit these people. Now, me and my mom would do this. My mom would go randomly visit her friends in some of the towns around me or whatever. Now, typically, what she would do is, she would kind of set aside her day and say, all right, we're gonna go, and she would look to go visit several friends or whatever, because part of that travels is one of your friends may not be there. So it's real common. You go there and write a little hand note and let them know, hey, I was here today, because you was showing up, randomly. And so it was nothing to, eventually make that trip, visit who you gonna visit, get back home, and and she would get calls from the friend and say, hey, I hate I missed you. But the joy of the fact that my mother thought to come get her, leave her house and go travel 20, 25 minutes, maybe even an hour sometimes, typically about an hour. But 40, 30 minutes to go, so just the thought of that was an overwhelming building of friendship that's, if you can text every day, you feel like you're keeping in contact, you're less likely to get up and leave the house to go visit your friend who you haven't talked to in a while, or you've been missing each other's phone calls. It was a period where, real relationships were built on the fact that I necessarily needed to see you, visit you, be in your presence. That included friends 2 hours away, 1 hour away. Like, there would be times where, like, okay, we talked on the phone over the last few months. We're gonna come down there. We're gonna come up there based on where you're at on the map, right? These are things that was part of building relationships. But now that you can text, call, and email, we are less likely to make time to go see each other. I got a piece in the Re-Education of the Negro in my book. See if I got it laying around here. Got this piece. This one called, it's like an ode to Maya Angelou when we lost her. Matter of fact, I wasn't planning on sharing it, but it just says, I'm just going to say a couple lines from it. It says, when great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory suddenly sharpen, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. These are the words of Maya Angelou. And I said this, I'm just going to read the first couple lines from this piece, my book. And it says, these words are so poignant, especially today. These are my words. While we don't like to think about losing someone close to us, we believe texting, Facebook, Skype, Instagram, etc. are viable forms of communications. If you lose someone close to you, you will be hurt even more if your last interaction was a text, Facebook message, or email. So this is just my quick reminder of this big transition to where technology has moved us from you could show up randomly and your family would appreciate you and love you for showing up randomly to say, hey, I am thinking of you, to now a done response to a text can be taken as sideways. Text doesn't have context. So maybe something's misunderstood, or if you're too busy, because people think, oh, it's so quick, it's so random, you should be able to answer my text. But in the event that you don't, people not picking up the phone. Do you actually upset with somebody because there's a non-response to a text versus picking up the phone to find out? Or, somebody calls you and you give them a text response as if that's the same thing. If they're calling you, they probably can't text you. Or whatever they're trying to say can't be done in a text or whatever. So we went from being able to interact quickly, but it's also made our interactions, in a sense, in our relationships fleeting, if you will. And the last thing I'll say about this conversation is, at a minimum, because we're in this world where obviously we can't go back to the times where making sure that I go see you in person and that type of relationship bonding, which is completely different in person than via a screen. While these things are completely different and we're not going to return to that world, just a couple of little things. One thing I'll leave y'all with is never text that you're sorry. Never text that, sorry I couldn't make it to your event. Never text that. Because it's a little selfish to conveniently say you're sorry. Let somebody hear the tone of your voice and hear that you're sorry or that you apologize. Because, like maybe you make a promise to, hey, here, whatever. And the minute that, I get that the minute that you're like maybe thinking about you're sorry, you want to express that you're sorry, that can wait. Just like you would have to plan that trip to go see that person in person, at a minimum, wait till you can pick up the phone and let somebody know, hey, I sincerely apologize and I'm going to make it up. Because in this text world, when I say it's selfish,